We are live.
Content provided at the event is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual.
Debbie, can you share your screen with us?
Oh, hang on.
Wait, we're welcoming Debbie to be our hostess today. She's getting it going here.
All right. Sorry about that, you guys. Where is
She doesn't
my?
have to speed up her reading time. She just reads.
She just
like
reads fast anyway.
Yeah. So.
Gimbal Financial, Debbie Cash speaking. How may I help you?
Please leave a message and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can.
Keep going, guys. Keep going until I get it here.
Okay, content provided is these are not recommendations. We'll
Can you see it?
We cannot.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well,
let's see here. If Debbie doesn't have them, I've got some disclaimers. I can disclaim everything. So I would say recently, what would your, if you were looking at something you were shopping for that had a disclaimer on it, have you seen anything that that scared you away that would be on the disclaimer itself? I saw one that talked about how you could not use bug spray to kill bugs or something like that, but what else have you seen on things?
Boy,
anything?
I need to start reading the disclaimer. Apparently,
I do too.
All right, so we're going to go with a backup disclaimer because most of this is all the same.
I've got it right here.
If you wish to remain unidentified, well, you don't have to worry about that because we don't let you on here. This is strictly our opinion. Stock investing includes risk, include fluctuation of prices, loss of principal. Dividend payments aren't guaranteed. Content provided at this event is for general information only and not intended to provide any specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance reference is historical and there is no guarantee. There are no guarantees. I'm sorry, a broken record for future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Any economic forecast set forth during this event may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial and do not represent those of LPL Financial. Any tax references are for illustrations. Seek your own tax professional before acting on any ideas discussed. Securities offered through LPL Financial. Remember, FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Gimbal Financial as separate, independent, registered investment advisor, and it is not the same as LPL Financial.
Well done, Keith.
Good job. Good job. And I practiced it this morning too. This is why I don't come on here very often. I like to be behind the scenes.
Oh, good.
If I mess up, nobody knows.
On that disclaimer there to all the tax people out there. I know you guys are working hard. You've probably had about 10 cups of coffee by now. You're dreaming of some vacation on April 16th. And so hats off to all you tax people. Thanks for helping making our lives a little easier.
I'm going to throw a special one out to Tom and Steve. They
Steve
were helping me this week with some issues, and they were really clarifying some ideas that were more complicated for me. So I appreciate your guys' help.
Yeah, they give good peace of mind, don't they?
Oh
yeah. Cool.
Well, why don't I jump into the COVID update? How's that?
All right.
We're gonna go share my screen.
This is sponsored by Gimbal Financial Hand Sanitizer, a licensed product through Gimbal Financial.
Don't you love the look of this graph? It's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, we told you that the most viruses take the shape of a bell curve. So they have a shoulder over here, then they have a head, and then they begin to fall off. That's just how bell curves work. That's how the flu works. That's how COVID has worked. And I think the dramatic drop off here, rather than being a curve, one had to do with the fact that the technology allowed a vaccine to come in record time. So had this just been left without the vaccine, my opinion is this would have just rounded out and would have taken a little bit longer. But we circumvented the traditional math of a bell curve kind of thing. And so there you have it. number of cases dropped off. We have a little bit of uptick over last week, but we've dropped dramatically. This over here is a path to immunity, and basically 60% of the people have antibodies, including vaccines, to protect them. So that the world is a much safer place than it's been in a long time for those who are, at risk with the COVID. That's really the at-risk group. If you look at the data, is going to be those people right over here, the 65 and older group.
And that part hasn't changed on this chart. And that's the one thing that just this variable hasn't changed.
Yeah, and so I understand, I think it's normal as I'm approaching some of those ages that different anxieties eke into your existence with age. You have different anxieties when you're younger, and then there's different ones when you're older. But I think things that would debilitate you or maybe even bring your life to an end quicker than you thought, those are probably anxieties that come more to the forefront when you get into these age ranges. And so precautions are probably necessary and worthwhile. These younger folks, I heard that some data, I can't quantify where I heard it this week, that there are more people that died of COVID over 100 than all of those under 30. And so I think the data stands up to show you that as well. So there's just different risk levels at work here. And if you want to see the specific data more closely, feel free to give us a call and we can hit you up with a link to that. I think it just says that this particular thing is pretty much behind us. Who knows what will be in front of us? We can't really control the future, but I think we all have to take risk management decisions on our own, and that's not only with our investments, but how we want to live life.
I don't know when flatten the curves that idea started, or that John Hopkins or whoever that was, but it was probably not far from a year ago now that we started to hear that type of terminology, and we didn't even really understand that we were in a pandemic at the time. And so it's one of those things where as we march along into the future, we're going to see data and results and just be better informed, and hopefully that alleviates some of the fears and anxieties that are out there.
Yeah, and I think that's just a fact of life, that the way that each of us can kind of address our own fears and anxieties is a big deal, because that psychology that's involved with that can really rob people of life. And when I was much more aggressive 20-something-year-old, one of the phrases that I just kept banging in my head was, do the thing you fear the most and the death of fear is near. And one of those things was cold calling, which was a really scary thing for me. But that's really stuck in my head over the years, is to go head on to those things that you fear, not with stupidity or anything of that nature, but with reasonable preparedness. I was invited to hike the Knobstone Trail next month.
Where's that?
Southern Indiana, which scares me to death. It's a 3 or 4 night hike. And
is that in the Hoosier National Forest?
Probably is, yeah.
Okay, Hobstone Trail?
Knobstone.
Oh, Knobstone. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I was telling my daughter, who invited me to do that when my dad was my age, there is no way that would have been a reasonable invitation. And yet now all I'm thinking is, okay, what are the things that concern me, and how do I address those, and how do I move through them? Because there's just certain things that when I was 25 that wouldn't concern me at all, that today I have to think a little differently about, which is it's just life. There's just risk out there.
Data helps, experience helps. And there's a couple terms that float around the stock market: FOMO, fear of missing out. There's fear of buying in. There's all types of fears that are out there. And even this week, I was going back to, okay, what do I know to be true about the stock markets, and where are my guides, and what do I look at? What do I read? And just tightening up those trusted sources are so important to look at the data, and it really does help you make your decisions and go forward. Like if you have somebody who's an experienced hiker to go with you, you're probably more likely to say yes. Yeah. But if I invited you to go hiking somewhere, I don't know anything about hiking. I wouldn't know what gear to take, what food to take, how much water, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that psychology idea as well, because that has a lot to do. I don't know if somebody told me this week, if they had, a different thing to study in college, I would have minored in psychology. But you mentioned something earlier when you came in, you were talking about some work that was being done on our building, and you said that the cool thing about the people that did the work here is they care.
They care. Yeah.
And that's really a psychological burden that can cause things not to go as well or to go well. And people, like, I'm sure that even the contractors have to get over that psychological burden, because the more you care, the more tendency to be perfectionist, maybe not to make decisions as quickly. And that's really the reality of how, as financial advisors, it makes it really a tightrope, because we care about you, and that psychology ekes into our thought processes as well as we're making decisions on your behalf. And I would say that probably somebody that's going to become a financial advisor, having to deal with that particular burden is one of the probably the second or third things that might kick them out of the business. So how do you deal with the psychology of helping people? Because we get a lot of pushback on a lot of different ideas, whether it's investment ideas, whether it's financial planning ideas, and those things can have different psychological impacts on you. So what do you say about that?
I think, well, something that comes to mind, I think you might have told me this years ago, is some guys that you used to follow or hang out with used to say, we might be wrong, we might be right, but we won't be indecisive. And I've always admired that thought, and so that's something that, I really strive for, is just to have an opinion. And so with psychology and the ways to battle some of the temptations to worry and be consumed by whatever variables are coming out, I tend to just write down facts. And so I might start off the day on Monday with, what do I know? And it's very little. But what I do know is a great backstop. And that comes from experience, that comes from other people's experience in this business, in this industry, and finding trusted people along the way. And thank goodness, I mean, there really are some fascinating people out there. There's some great tools today that weren't available years ago for people like us, people like you. And the key is to communicate and talk about it to make sure that they are lock in step with where you want to go.
Yeah, I think that, that's from our side of the psychological battle of helping people. And as clients, there's all kinds of things that evolve for you. There's the transformation of age that has impacts on the way that you think. The anxieties, like we just talked about COVID, the different things will affect you at different times in life, which can ultimately affect you in your thought process of how you invest or manage your resources. Your 401ks, as you're working, they look like they always go up because you're contributing to them, right?
Yeah.
And that's a deceptive kind of thing, that I'm always doing well in my 401k. It always goes up unless you hit a big bear market. But if you're putting money into something, it will go up in spite of whatever's going on. And so then when you quit putting money into it, and then you quit getting an income to manage that resource, is completely different than while you're working and while you're contributing to it. So there's a psychological thing I don't even know that a lot of investors take into account.
Spent some time talking about that with a few clients this week, the psychological effect of seeing your principal, your account statement go down.
Yeah.
It could be market related, or it could be, hey, I just bought a new F-150. It could be an income stream, whatever it is, but just kind of getting okay with seeing the number go down, because in our working years, we just like to see it going up.
Yeah, so that's one of the psychological things that you all have to deal with on a day-by-day basis in your mindset. And then the other one that we were talking about earlier as well is just the law of large numbers. If you have a 10% drop on a dollar and you lose a dime, I'm going to guess none of us are going to be concerned that dime was left out in the gas station parking lot. But if you have a 10% drop on $1 million and that $100,000 happened to be laying out on the gas station parking lot, you're probably going to have a different emotional response to that. It's the exact same drop in the market, but it's two different little psychological things. And that 10% changes as you accumulate wealth. And it's the same 10%, but it's hard to get your mind around it. Like if you're making $50,000 a year and you accumulate $1 million in your 401k, a 10% drop is 2 years worth of earnings. And that's just a big thing to wrap your brain around.
Speaking of law of large numbers and large numbers, I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. What is a trillion?
didn't we write that on our window a couple years ago and try to
Yeah.
figure out
Yes.
what it was?
So
Yes, we
I
did.
ran across this from some guys. I'm part of a group that meets with different business
Hold that up in
leaders.
the camera again real quick. Not like,
Yeah.
it looks like a Christmas tree when I look.
Oh, well, this is really cool. So, okay, so stay with me here. And you math people up, feel free to fact check me. And if I'm wrong, I want to know about it. But if a second equals $1, okay, if a second equals $1, $1 million equals 12 days ago.
Okay.
$1 billion equals 32 years ago.
That was about when Debbie was born, right?
$1 trillion equals 30,000 years ago. So 1.9 trillion, it's like 60,000 years ago. And so for those of you on the call who can come up with the next largest number that's out there that Congress and presidential candidates are going to talk about, we've gone from what, a million, billion, trillion. If you can give me the next really big one, I have a prize for you. Again, it's a free. Well, it's not free because this cost you an education. You've got to give me the right answer, but it's this officially licensed Gimbal financial hand sanitizer bottle, and it will be delivered to your mailbox as long as you live within a 20-minute driving distance.
I would say if you don't win, I'd be willing to sell you one for $1 trillion too. Would we let those go at that price, though?
But isn't that crazy that you talking about numbers? I mean, that blows me away. You know, just thinking about the law of large numbers, what $1 trillion is. It's crazy.
Well, let me talk about numbers, Doug. I got some numbers. There's a book. There you go. Was that Johnny Carson?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Didn't he had an envelope?
Yeah, that's what he would throw. The great Karnak, I think is what he called himself. How to Lie with Statistics. That's a book, and there are numbers people out there and non-numbers people, and so that we can be told things that get us all worked up, but it's really statistics and how you manipulate them. And this I saw since we got together last, it just blew me away. There was in 2020 a 24% spike in roadway deaths in the United States.
That seems awfully high for those.
Yeah.
I wasn't driving a whole lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And so 42,000 people are estimated to have died by the National Safety Council last year. And the only way I could think that probably makes sense is if you weren't staying at home, you probably weren't afraid of COVID, and you found the roadways to be emptier, and your foot tended to get a little bit heavier last year. So I would guess if you had the data on the average speed on the roads last year, that would probably explain the increase in deaths, because if you're going 90 miles an hour versus 70 miles an hour, when you hit something, there's probably not as much left at the end of that collision. And so that's my guess on what happened. However, our government, being who they are, they need to spend some money on this to figure it out. So I think I just gave you the answer. But the National Safety Council is urging President Biden and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. I'm sorry, all you
Mayor
South
Pete.
Bend,
Let's go with
South
Mayor
Bend
Pete.
people that butchered that. But here's what the National Safety Council wants us to do to save money and lives is to get roadway deaths to 0 by 2050.
Okay.
And so that's how our illustrious government has responded to the 24% rise in deaths. So there you go. And it will happen. Warner and LJ won't be pleased about it because they're going to be in autonomous cars by then probably. And the government really didn't do anything. The free enterprise system will have taken care of that. But the government will have spent part of that 1.9 trillion to make it safer for you. Much more expensive probably, but not more dangerous. So there you go.
One of our goals, not that we hit this all the time, but one of our goals is to take complex stuff and break it down and communicate it at a simple level. And I think it was right around this time, or maybe even summertime, we introduced the idea of an index financial plan, index card financial plan. And I brought mine with me today just to take a look at it again. And this is for 2021. And this is something that you could do every year. It doesn't have to be overly complex. And you can just write out maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 things that matter to you. And that could be as simple as maxing out your 401k. Or for me, one of my big ones is from last year and this year, just paying my bills weekly. That way I'm on top of it. Just stuff like that can go a long way. And so if you're interested in taking your complex finances, your balance sheet, if you want to learn more about that, if you want to learn more about your cash flow and break it down to its simplest form where you can get it on an index card, I would personally, I would just be thrilled to spend time with you. And we could do that webinar or in person, whatever. But along those same guidelines, our friends at the SEC, I can't believe I'm saying this, our friends at the SEC, they put out some guides on how you do exactly this. And I've got a great link to some pages that I could send to you to help jumpstart some of your thinking. And that might be a lot of fun for springtime, spring cleanup.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
I know years ago when I got into business, there were people that would sell financial plans for about $500 to $2,000.
Yeah, I know.
3-ring binder.
I went to a charity auction once, and you could bid on a financial plan. I thought that's the cheesiest thing I've ever sold.
I'm not saying the financial plan isn't worth something.
No, but
I think what Gimbal Financial, I think what we uniquely do to bring value to our clients and our friends and potential clients is we can take that 2 or 3 inch binder and sift through it and break it down to a 3x5 card for you. Your finances should not ordinarily be that difficult unless you're getting up in the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. Then you're going to get really complicated because you're going to be owning businesses, you're going to be owning countries. I don't know what you're going to be owning, but if your net worth isn't up in those levels, your financial plan is going to be fairly simple, and we can surely help you sift it down to something beyond a big thick binder.
And that's true whether you're in an accumulation phase or a retirement and distribution phase. I mean, really, it shouldn't be too complex.
Yeah, that's a good word. We haven't left a lot of time to talk about the markets. Do you want to talk about the markets a little bit?
Gosh. Yeah, I do.
Okay, let me jump in. I pulled up, I'm going to share my screen here. I pulled up some industries over here, and I ranked them by the worst performing industry to the best. And so we have an indicator over there. It says this industry versus the S&P 500.
Is number 1 down there? Is that like
that's bad?
A really good sign?
No, that's number 1 is not what you want to be in this ranking. And so when I ranked them initially, I was just trying to get some thoughts to encourage y'all with when you're thinking about what's going on out there. But I was caught by which one got the worst ranking, and it was soap and cleaning. I don't know what that is. Just say products is what we'll call it. But when COVID broke loose over here back in March of a year ago, look what happened to these guys. They shot up.
Yeah.
And now they have subsequently lost curiosity for people.
Sorry, Deb. I know you're a cleaning neat freak. You'd love to clean. Well, now's the time maybe to load up on some cleaning supplies.
Yeah, I would throw out there to you folks that our disclaimer said past performance has nothing to do with the future, and this advice could be wrong. So handle it at your own risk and concern. But I'm just going to throw this out there for you as you're thinking about your weekend. If you happened to hoard toilet paper, this suggests you better get rid of that now.
The trend is your friend. The trend is your friend.
Yeah, your toilet paper prices may be coming down, is all I'm saying. All right, Doug, what do you want? I'm sorry.
I'm lost after that.
If you don't want to come back on Friday, I'm sorry. It's just...
Okay, so if this was the worst.
Here's another bad one. Utilities. If you own the utility stocks, they've not done real
that
well.
one surprised me.
They're trying to get it. They're trying to get the pulse coming back.
I love a good utility. Man, come on, utilities.
Well, Doug, you can't have that.
I can't cheer them on like that.
That's like cheering at Sears or Roebuck, man.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're getting new
Hey, these guys are
utilities.
going future. They're going future.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say we're getting new utilities coming in. So, all right, here we go. Let's see what's. Look at this. How about this? Who would have
There we
thought?
go.
Who would
There we
thought
go.
Automobile manufacturers. Would you
Yeah.
have thought they're showing
No.
some life?
No, I definitely would not have. And there are several of these sectors and sleeves of the economy I would not have thought would have done well this year, and they are.
Yeah, the automobiles are down for the year, but I'm not sure. I think this industry probably includes a large company like Tesla would be one of the larger holdings in this one. And so if we were able to show you Tesla's stock chart, it's probably dropped dramatically, which would have pulled down this whole industry. So most of this downward trend, I think, is probably just from that stock. Notice some of the other ones.
There's some cool things happening in this space too. I mean, the level of innovation that's out there and competition, that's the part I'm really enjoying seeing. It's the new level of competition coming on board, especially in the electric space.
Yeah, and we're not gonna have as much time today to talk about the markets because I rambled on.
Yeah, sorry about that. I did too. Yeah.
But if you look at this list of different sectors in the market over here, you see me. I was trash talking Doug about his old school energy thing.
Those old school ones are investing in those new school ones.
so number 2 here is the energy solar.
Which is way cool.
It is, yeah. Like you could get some energy off the top of this, some solar reflections, and then you've got energy alternative that's number 7 here. So that they're doing some, really good things. And ironically, oil and gas is number 9.
It's crazy.
And
it's just nuts.
Stopped, the fracking on federal property, and somehow those things have started shooting up. So the things that you think are so maybe aren't always so. So you would have thought, if I told you last week that last year was the safest time to ever be on the highway, and you would have thought that was so, and this week I could have brought some data to show you otherwise. So don't get all bound up in thinking certain things are so. Give things some time. Let time kind of do some of the thought process where you don't have to be in emergency mode all the time, like maybe we moved through.
It is so hard not to be in that mode when
Yeah.
we get data so fast and the data seems so certain.
Yeah.
It's certain that it's right. And
Yeah.
so, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
There you go. Was that, didn't we do that NASCAR training? Were you with us on that? Yeah. So we learned to change the tires to a pit stop in NASCAR probably more than a decade ago. But what we had to learn was to slow down to speed up.
That's right.
That was a good word.
That was fun.
What else we need to know today, Doug?
Everybody just have a great weekend. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been, I don't know, maybe a year of doing this now. I haven't gone back to track, but thanks for tuning in. And if you're tuning in at a different time, thanks for giving us a look. And if there are things we can be doing for you, please give us a call. We'd be just excited as can be to help you through whatever's important to you.
I'd say live big, live large, and enjoy life would be what I would say as you look to the weekend. This is going to be the beginning of the spring season. I think we have daylight savings time switching around here. And so enjoy the daylight, enjoy your life, enjoy Debbie's smile, and we'll see you guys all real soon. Take care.
Have a good weekend, everybody.